to come and hear all about the Greater Essex Careers Hub. You will notice that, thank you, Maisie, that Maisie has just started the recording of this session. So if you don't want to appear on that recording, do turn your cameras off. The recording is for anyone that can't come, so we will upload that onto our YouTube channel, but just so that you're aware of that. A little bit of housekeeping before we start. For anyone that's not speaking, if you could keep your microphones on mute for us, that would be fantastic. I'm going to go through a few slides and there'll be a few questions for you along the way as well. However, do feel free to ask questions as we go. Either pop them in the chat or do raise your hand. I'll attempt to keep an eye on whose hands are raised as we're going through. So if there's any questions that come up as we go, then do feel free to ask them as we go. And there will definitely be time at the end for any other questions, comments, ideas, thoughts as we go along as well. So there'll definitely be time at the end for that too. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Hyla Grinwade. I am the Strategic Hub Lead for the Greater Essex Careers Hub. And big welcome and thank you for everyone for coming along. I'm going to go through a bit of an introduction really to what the Careers Hub is, some of the who's who within that and the different partners that we have within that, and then also hopefully spending some time on how we can support each other and work together within this within the careers landscape as well. I've got a couple of questions for you first of all, just so that I can try and make sure that I'm pitching at the right level. I've not used polls before though in Teams, so do bear with me if this goes completely pear-shaped, but we'll try one and see what happens. So first question for you is whether or not you've heard of the Careers and Enterprise Company before. If you want to put your answers in and press submit. Okay, so positive response so far. We're starting off well by the looks of it, in that most of you have at least heard of the Careers and Enterprise Company. Perhaps not in too much detail, but at least heard of it. I'll talk through just a tiny bit about the CEC, just to set the scene a little bit. But thank you for that one. And then just a second one for you is, apart from the fact that you're now in this room hearing about careers hubs, but before this, had you heard of a careers hub before, or is this all very new to you? Fab, thank you for that. So most of you have heard of careers hubs, which is a great start and a real positive for us as well. Today, hopefully this afternoon, we'll give you a little bit more detail, but really contextualise it as well in terms of what the Greater Essex Careers Hub is and how we can work with you and support you. So thank you for those responses. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. As I say, though, if you have questions or comments or anything at any point as we're going through this, then do let me know. So just either raise your hands or pop it in the chat and we'll go through them hopefully as we go along. Laura, can you let me know if you can see that screen?
Yes, you can.
Perfect. Thanks, Laura. So, as I say, my name's Hyla Grinwade. I'm the Strategic Hub Lead for the Greater Essex Careers Hub. And as mentioned, I'm going to very quickly, because most of you have heard of the CEC before anyway, very quickly take you through the Careers and Enterprise Company, what a Careers Hub is, who indeed we are as the Greater Essex Careers Hub, the who's who within that, so our partners, the different roles of the different people within that. I'm not going to give you a talk on the Gatsby benchmarks, but more use that as a starting point for some examples of the support and resources that the Careers Hub can give. Spend a bit of time on looking at how we can be working together and supporting each other within this landscape. And as I say, plenty of opportunity for questions and answers as we, and hopefully answers at least, as we're going along. So to start us off with, the Careers and Enterprise Company was set up 2015. It was set up by the government to to deliver a 21st century world-class education for all young people. And this covers England only, the Careers and Enterprise Company. And certainly initially, and it's continued to do so, to provide that strategic coordination for what the government does in terms of careers education for schools and colleges. And its mission is to work with schools, colleges and employers to help every young child find their best next steps, being very aware that that best next step is something slightly different for each person. Excuse me just for a second, I'm just going to stop sharing just for a second and then come back to sharing. Just realised I've not put sound on. There we go. Should be back on your screens again now. So, as I say, Careers and Enterprise Company set up in 2015. And the model that they use, obviously, young people at the heart of everything that we do, but then we want to empower and to support careers leaders within every school and college to meet the individual needs of the young people that are within their institution. We also engage strategically with businesses. That's predominantly through our cornerstone employers, and I'll explain a little bit more about them later, but also through our enterprise advisors, who are our business volunteers that work individually with each of our schools. We also have another couple of initiatives that allow us to work on a more delivery basis in the schools and colleges, such as industry champions, to get some employers, to get as many employers as possible in front of young people. The Careers Hub is there to provide that sort of central point, I suppose, really, and very much in a signposting and joining the dots type of way. And then what we have is a few other things that are set around us to help with that quality and consistency. So things like training and resources, things like our Compass Plus tool, which is a self-assessment tool against the Gatsby benchmarks, and our enterprise coordinators, who are our local feet on the ground, if you like, for the Careers Hub, that will know the schools, colleges and local landscape really, really well. I just want to play you a video from Ola de Botton, who is the chief exec from the Careers and Enterprise Company, to set the scene of what the CEC is all about, basically. So hopefully this will play for us. And do let me know if you haven't got sound. We should have it now, but just let me know if you haven't.
Hello, my name is Ollie de Botton and I'm the Chief Executive of the Careers and Enterprise Company. I just wanted to share with you some information about our mission, our vision and our priorities. We have been governed by the careers strategy, the government's careers strategy that has just come to an end. And in a way it's been replaced by the FE and Skills bill, which is going through Parliament at the moment, which seeks to put skills at the heart of the education system. We're also governed by the statutory guidance around careers, and we feel very privileged to be part of the system going forward. So that governs our work, but within that we've got a mission, we've got a vision, and we've got some priorities. So our mission, which I hope we share with you, is to help every young person find their best next step. And we know that the best next step is not the same for every young person, which is why it's absolutely fantastic that we've got FE, independent training providers and apprenticeship providers as part of our network, so we can give young people access to all the options. We know that some young people face difficulties finding their best next step, and that careers education has a role to play in removing barriers where we find them. We also know that what we experience influences where we go, which is why we place such an emphasis on employers getting involved in careers education, helping young people, inspiring young people about what's to come, including the routes in. So these assumptions lead us to a vision. We want modern, high quality 21st century careers education for everyone, everywhere. And how are we going to do that? We want to support schools and colleges as much as possible to deliver brilliant careers education. We want to support employers to engage in education with purpose and for the long term. And we want to include every young person in careers education, regardless of their starting point or circumstance. So what are our priorities for this year? Well, there are three. The first one is we want as much impact as possible in the system. And what does that mean? That means amplifying those high quality technical and vocational routes, including apprenticeships. It means listening to the voice of young people to make sure the inputs that we're putting in have the right impact on them. And it means using some of our digital tools, particularly Compass Plus, that will allow us to track what intervention is having what impact. Our second priority is making sure we include all young people in careers, education, working to remove barriers. What does that mean? It means connecting employers to education and education institutions that need them most. It means having a focus on those key transition points where we know that sometimes talent can be lost. And our third priority is making sure the system is set up for the long term. And that means one thing: focus on leadership. So we'll continue to train those careers leaders with tools and techniques to support their careers programs, and we'll continue to seek to raise their profile and status in the profession. We'll provide additional support for governors, head teachers, college principals to support the system. But we'll also make sure that discussions about economic growth are also discussions about careers education, putting careers education front and centre of the economic debate. So in short, we want to have a high impact system, we want to include every young person, and we want to focus on leadership. Maybe that is simple, but we think that's the right approach for this academic year as we seek to welcome young people back to schools, and I guess in the normal way. So that's what we're about. So please get in touch if you're interested in working with us and helping us help every young person find their best next step.
So hopefully that gives you some idea of what the, oh, hold on, it's going to start.
Hello, my name is.
So hopefully that gives you some idea of the Careers and Enterprise Company. Sorry, my screen's just gone funny. Same problem the other day when sharing that video, so apologies. So hopefully that was Ollie, who is our chief exec for the Careers and Enterprise Company, giving you an idea of what the CEC is about really and what their priorities are. So as he mentioned, that includes amplifying technical and vocational education, so things like apprenticeships, T-levels, traineeships, supported internships, that sort of thing. It also includes making sure that we're supporting and amplifying the role, really, I suppose, of careers leaders, senior leadership teams within schools and colleges, particularly being part of that education, economic development landscape as well, and sort of growth and potentially recovery as well in some areas too. And it also the third priority is making sure that we're paying attention and we're supporting every young person. So looking at those transition points, looking at individuals that perhaps have got more barriers than most in terms of making the most of their careers provision. So in terms of, the Careers and Enterprise Company launched Careers Hubs back in 2018. So we're quite late to the game realistically. So we're part of wave 4 of the Careers Hubs. And one thing that gives us is a little bit of an advantage because it means that we can learn all the lessons from the other Careers Hubs that have come before us. So there are actually 43 careers hubs across England, covering about 85% of schools now are due to join a careers hub either previously or within this academic year. So the majority of schools now across England will be part of a careers hub. And the point of a careers hub really is to be that central point for all things careers for schools, colleges, employers, providers, local authorities, districts, and everything else in between. That doesn't mean that we're going to be duplicating anything. That is very much not what we're trying to do, but simply just to join the dots on that and to try and make those links as much as possible. We support or we can support any secondary school and college. So that's from year 7 up. So they're 11-year-olds up within Essex, Southend and Thurrock. And a key part of what a careers hub does is help schools, colleges, employers and anyone else working within this landscape to share good practice, probably most importantly share lessons learned and really develop those peer support networks. Quite often careers leaders within schools can feel like quite an isolating role, so actually to bring them all together is super important. Another thing that the careers hubs do is to test, trial and evaluate what works as well. So we're able through our hub fund, a relatively small hub fund, to pilot different projects just to see what actually does work and potentially does have an impact for our young people, employers and schools. So in terms of the benefits of the Careers Hub, I would very much say that the main ones are here on the screen. So we're definitely here to help increase the connections between schools and local businesses and national businesses for that matter as well. And actually about 3/4 of careers leaders that have joined the careers hubs across the country have said that they've engaged with more employers since joining the careers hub. And we obviously aim to seek to increase that too. We're here to increase the strategic importance and alignment of careers provision locally. So that's looking at what is out there. How can we join those dots? How can we make sure that's linked up? And I'll be asking you for some thoughts and feedback on that as we go through as well. Increasing in the Gatsby benchmark. So I'll talk about the benchmarks just slightly more in a second. But the Careers Hub definitely seek to increase the Gatsby benchmark outcomes for schools and colleges. I've already mentioned that peer support, and the majority of, so I think it was 75% of careers leaders across the country having joined a Careers Hub feel like they are better connected with their peers across other schools and colleges. We do have extra resource that comes in with this. So we'll now this academic year have two hub leads, myself and one other. And we also do have a small pot of funding for our local hub fund to test out some of those pilot projects and run some other activities and resources. We also have our Cornerstone Employer Group. So this is a group of employers that don't just walk the walk when it comes to careers education, but actually lead the way through their supply chains and the other businesses within their industries and sectors as well. And they've got three things that they want to concentrate on this year through our Cornerstone Employer Group. One is teacher engagement, and in terms of influencing the influencers really of our young people out there. So looking at that teacher engagement. Another is looking at inclusion and in particular SEND and how they can help support SEND young people. And another one, a lot of our key sectors within Essex, we always look at post 16 and post 18 opportunities, but actually what most of our key sectors are telling us is that a large proportion of the roles that they have within them, you can't actually start until you're 18, usually because of health and safety reasons. And so therefore it's actually looking at that 16 to 18 block and what is the most useful to then at 18 get you into those key sectors. So there's three things there that they want to focus on. And at the moment, our Cornerstone Employer Group is made up of Morgan Sindall, the Mid and South Essex NHS Trust, London Southend Airport, Backstage Centre down in Purfleet, Greenergy, Lower Thames Crossing, and Adventure Island Stockvale Group. So we've got a mixture across all of the different sectors at the moment, and our plan is probably to grow that across Essex as we go as well. So in terms of the Greater Essex Careers Hub, so some of you may have heard of the Southend and Thurrock Careers Hub. So Southend and Thurrock Careers Hub launched last academic year back in September. We started with 35 schools and colleges, so that was actually every school and college across Southend and Thurrock wanted to join the hub at that time. And we've been working with those schools and colleges over the last academic year and seen some really great improvements and impact in that. But what I'm really excited to say is that we've managed to find the funding in order to grow the Careers Hub. So we're now going to morph, if you like, into the Greater Essex Careers Hub. This will include all of the county of Essex, so Southend and Thurrock obviously still included, but including that Essex County Council region as well. We're going up by 60 schools, so an additional 60 schools and colleges across Essex, so bringing us up to a total of 95 institutions this academic year. And that includes all types of provision, so mainstream, special, FE, alternative provision, and we even have a couple of the adult community colleges looking at their 14 to 19 provision that they have too. What I would say across those 95 extra institutions is any schools that aren't able to join this academic year, either because they don't feel ready or because the places are filled. So at the moment we have 49 schools that have taken those places. So we only have 11 schools left, and I'll show you sort of the rough locations of those in a second. So if they aren't able to join the Careers Hub this year, our plan is to expand again next academic year in order to bring in the rest of the schools across the whole of the county of Essex, which will take us up to about 130 institutions across the county. So just because they can't necessarily join this year doesn't mean that they won't be able to join at all. The plan is that we'll introduce them to the hub next year, and what we'll do for them this year is they'll join what the CEC is calling the activation stage. So essentially, that is they'll still have any communications from us and be invited to webinars, but won't have the manpower, if you like, that sits behind the Careers Hub in terms of enterprise coordinators and advisors. But they'll still have some support from us this academic year. This shows you a little map of where we're looking at the moment. So the schools in blue were the schools that were with us last academic year and will continue to be so. The ones in green show you the schools that have already said that they're looking to join the Careers Hub and have taken one of those 60 places. And the ones in yellow there have been offered a place but haven't yet come back to us to confirm that they want to take on that place. As I say, we've got 11 places remaining, so the ones in yellow need to get in quick. What I would do is ask, and particularly we're looking to focus in some of our efforts of getting the schools from the Harlow, the Tendring and the Basildon region for probably obvious socio-economic reasons to join the hub. So if there's any people on the call or know people within teams that have any influence or contacts within those areas in the schools and colleges, I'd be really grateful for that, because we're really keen that those areas get the full impact from this academic year of the Careers Hub. Okay. So to run you through who our hub partners are for the Greater Essex Careers Hub. Obviously, the Careers and Enterprise Company is the key partner within this, who fund the majority of posts and also provide the hub fund for us. It's also the framework that we sit under from the Careers and Enterprise Company. In Southend, our hub partner, both in terms of funding and also hosting our enterprise coordinator, is Southend-on-Sea City Council. And in Thurrock, similarly, in terms of hosting and funding, the post down there is Thurrock Council. Now, within Essex, as I say, we're really pleased that we've managed to get 2 new partners for our Essex area. So in terms of providing the funding, for the match funding that we need for the 3 new posts that will be created within Essex, that's coming through from Learn Live, who you may or may not have heard of. I will put a link in the chat in just a second so that you can see who Learn Live are. And really excited to say that Make Happen are going to be hosting our 3 posts for us as well, so we can really get that synergy, hopefully, or even more of the synergy between the teams of the Make Happen team and the Careers Hub team. So these are our partners for this academic year, to help us provide and allow us to expand into Essex. Just to provide you with a little bit of a who's who within our team. So as I mentioned, I'm the strategic hub lead. We have Yvonne Evans, who is our enterprise coordinator covering our Thurrock school, supporting in Thurrock. Laura Bramley, who is supporting our schools and colleges down in Southend. We have Maisie Tilliard, who is our Careers Hub apprentice, who is on the call today as well. And then we have 4 new posts that are being created because of this expansion. So the first one is an operational hub lead. That post will be hosted by Southend-on-Sea City Council, just as my post is, and that will create some extra capacity within the team. The advert for that post is currently live, so when I send out some details after this, I'll ensure that link's in there. And if you know anyone that you think might be interested in that role, then please do pass on the link to them. We also, and I'm really excited to say, we're going to have 3 new enterprise coordinators covering Essex. The likelihood is that we'll have 1 enterprise coordinator covering the schools in the south of the county, 1 covering the west and probably mid, and 1 covering the north and east, just because that's the layout of our schools at the moment in terms of how they're joined. So that's our most likely breakdown at the moment. Those roles we're hoping to go live very soon in terms of the recruitment for those. So again, we'll send you out the links to those as soon as they're live. You may or may not have come across Georgina Angela. So she is our regional lead for the Careers and Enterprise Company. And I know certainly within some of the Essex region, probably the name that you would have heard most and associated most with the Careers and Enterprise Company. And then we have our enterprise advisors, who are our business volunteers that matched on a 1-to-1 basis with our school. So as I say, four new posts created because of this expansion into Essex, which we're really very excited about, and will really help us to support the schools, colleges, employers, and other stakeholders that we work with on this project. I just want to explain what a couple of those posts are, because I realise I'm throwing terms at you, but you might not necessarily know who they are, or indeed what that post is. So an enterprise coordinator is a part of our careers hub team, and they're our local point of contact for the careers hub. So they help the different institutions that we work with to provide their careers and enterprise activities in terms of helping them on a strategic level. They engage with local employers, local careers activity providers, local education providers, so particularly if there's any colleges or independent training providers in that region. They help share good practice and examples from across our local schools, and they have a real knowledge of the resources and different activities and providers that are out there. And probably most importantly, for most of our careers leaders, they provide a relatively friendly face for those people working in those roles that sometimes it can feel a little bit isolating. Then we have our enterprise advisors. So these are our business volunteers. And I'm going to be asking you guys to try and help us find some of these enterprise advisors as well, because these are really the key to this whole success. So an enterprise advisor is a business volunteer who provides an employer perspective for a school or college in terms of their career strategy and program. So these aren't individuals that are delivering anything within the school. They're not delivering mock interviews. Some of them do, but most of them don't deliver mock interviews or activities, but are really working with the senior leadership team and the careers leader to develop and make sure that their careers program is fit and fit for purpose, i.e. it's getting young people ready for the world of work when they leave, or indeed whatever the next progression step is. They're really quite a critical friend, really, I suppose, to the careers leaders and senior leadership teams, and can come from any background, any employment, and any industry. And because we're growing by 60 schools across Essex, we're looking for an additional 60 enterprise advisors to match them with as well. So after this session, I will send out some details in terms of how people, if you know of any people that you think might be interested in that role, can volunteer, or at least can find out some more information. Just to give you an example of some of our enterprise advisors that we have already in the organisations that they come from. So we've got from big organisations such as DWP and Highways England, through to much smaller micro businesses such as Caddies, and I'm not sure I'd say Adventure Island's a micro business, but Adventure Island as well. So they come from all different types of industry and all different types of businesses. And as I say, we'll be recruiting for at least additional 60 across the Essex region. So in terms of why is it important that we have these employers involved with us, so the cornerstone employers, the enterprise advisors, and also any other employers that we engage with, the reason why it's important, and I probably don't, I'm probably talking to the converted a little bit here, but it's important because the research shows that for young people, having employee engagement, having interactions with employers and employees really does help them relate what they're learning in schools to their futures, and can also help raise aspirations. Research has also shown that it can improve education outcomes, attendance, and the onward progression, sometimes called destinations as well. And really, but from my point of view, what I think is the most important is it can help give young people just a bit more control over their decisions. I was only yesterday speaking to my stepdaughter, who next year is going to happen to be picking her GCSEs, and she has no idea at all where that can go at the moment. So it just helps give them a bit more control over the decisions that they're having to make. We're often asked, why do employers want to get involved? And actually, employers are desperate to be involved with schools and their careers provision, for many, many reasons. Predominantly, it's either because they want to support local communities, or it's because they're looking at it from more of a recruitment point of view in terms of those the talent pipeline and the skill shortage that they might have. But there can be a range of different reasons for that too. Now I'm going to launch, hopefully, if I can, another couple of polls. So there's also some really quite stark data on this in terms of other impacts that having at least 4 encounters with an employer can have on young people. So I'm just going to see if I can launch one of these. Okay, so No, that's not the one I want. That's the one I want. So, if a young person has 4 or more encounters with employers during school, how much less likely are they to become neat, do you think? So, what impact do you think this will have on the neat numbers or lack thereof, neat numbers, hopefully? Oh, we've got a few people that have seen this stat before by the looks of it. So, thank you for your responses there. Yeah, so the correct number there is 86%. So 4 or more encounters, that's essentially just one a year while they're in secondary school education, and they're 86% less likely to become neat. Now, for those of you that work with neat young people, that is a huge difference, a massive, massive difference. And so well worth us getting employers to engage with young people and schools. Another stat for you, which I really wish I knew this when I was at school because I would have paid far more attention to it. Um, so, if a young person has these 4 or more encounters whilst they're at school with employers, how much more do you think they're likely to earn during their lifetime as an average? We've got a few different responses coming in there. So the correct amount is 18%. So for those of us that work maybe a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, she jokes, that essentially means that is one extra day's salary that you would be getting potentially if you equate it to that in such simplistic terms. But just from having those 4 encounters with employers, so that's is literally not even one a year. So 4 encounters during their time in secondary education, and they potentially could be earning an extra 18% during their lifetime, which particularly at the moment where obviously purses are so stretched can really make or break a young person and their future families potentially as well. So it's really, really critical, this role that we're playing, and I'm really pleased to have you along for this journey as well. Um, I'm not going to give you a talk on the eight Gatsby benchmarks. That is not exciting for anyone at this time in the day. But just to give you an idea, so the eight Gatsby benchmarks are they aim to provide young people with the tools that they need to have successful future careers, or at least understand the world of work. And these were developed by the Gatsby Foundation by looking at research from all over the world in terms of what makes world-class careers education. And these were the 8 benchmarks that came out of it. And just to give you some ideas of the sorts of things that we do in order to work with the schools to try to improve their achievement towards these benchmarks. For benchmark 1 there, for example, we're really engaged and we'll be running reports, CPD webinars and other opportunities for head teachers and governors, trustees to really engage with this careers programme. We're going to be providing for benchmark 2, we're going to be providing labour market information booklets that will be available to all on our website along with lesson plans, and we'll shortly be launching an accessible labour market information website as well. For benchmark 3, through Compass Plus, which is the self-assessment tool against these benchmarks that the schools use, there's also something called the Future Skills Questionnaire, which is a fantastic way of assessing the knowledge and understanding that young people have, so that they can really just narrow it down into what the young people need for their careers education. We run CPD workshops in schools and colleges where requested to the teachers and other support staff in terms of how they can link their curriculum areas into careers. Often a thing that we're asked by young people is well, when am I ever going to use this again? Well, this is the opportunity to make sure that teachers can help and support with that. You may or may not have heard of the Pride of Access legislation that's due to hit the schools from January, and this ensures hopefully that all young people will have at least 6 opportunities to access vocational and technical training providers such as apprenticeship providers during their schooling, really helping with that benchmark 7 there. And we're running quite a few pilot projects across the hub this year to help support experiences of the workplace so that young people can actually step into, whether that's physically or virtually, a workplace to see what it's like and to get a bit of a flavour for it as well. There's a number of other things that we're doing as a careers hub, but I'm always really, really keen to get any ideas that you guys have as well in terms of how we can best support the schools against these Gatsby benchmarks. Just to give you an idea of the sorts of impact that the Careers Hub's having so far. So this is from last academic year when we had the Southend and Thurrock schools, and you can see across every single benchmark that these are the benchmarks that were now fully achieved. So they weren't achieved before, but they now are. And you can see across every single benchmark, the green is where we started from. The reddy orangey colour there is where he was a year later, and you can see every single benchmark there's been progress from the Careers Hub, from the schools within the Careers Hub, and we're really hoping to do similar, if not exceed that, for the next academic year, including across all of the Essex schools. We actually managed across the 35 schools last year in the hub that they achieved an additional 49 benchmarks fully achieved across that. So normally the average is that you might get maybe 1 extra benchmark a year if you're working at it, because they're not small things to achieve. But actually we had a couple of schools, well, we had 1 school that achieved 5 additional benchmarks in 1 academic year. So we're hoping to get a few more of those this year coming through as well. So in terms of working together, and this is where I'd really like to pick your brains if possible. So the idea of the Careers Hub is absolutely not to duplicate anything that's out there already. It is here to join the dots together where possible and to really be a signposting for schools, for colleges, for employers and for other stakeholders that we have in here. So one of the things that I'll certainly be doing this year is to try and figure out the local landscape, particularly across the Essex region. Obviously, I've been working in Southend and Thurrock for a while now, but across the Essex region, not so much. So just going on a bit of a fact-finding mission that I'm hoping that you guys can help kickstart me with in just a second. We're really hoping to strategically align ourselves with some of the other work that we know is going on out there at both a county, district, unitary and local authority level. And hence me saying that I'm particularly keen to work with schools within Harlow, Tendring and Basildon areas, because we know that Essex County Council, that's quite a key focus for them as well. We know that the local skills improvement plans coming along and the Careers Hub have to be central to that, and we're really excited to be central to those to look to see where our skills gaps are and how education and training can help support that. We're here to help provide support as well. So if even for yourselves, if there's areas where you're wondering if we've got resources, it's not just our resources, but we have the whole country's resources essentially in this area that we can pick people's brains from as well. So do get in touch if there's any support that you need. Likewise, if there's any projects, initiatives, resources, events, anything that you're running that you'd like us to promote across our networks as well, please do always let us know that, because we're keen to make sure that we're getting as many people along to your events as well. And as mentioned, we run a relatively place-based model, so based in Southend, in Thurrock, in South Essex and so on. So anything that supports within those areas, please do let us know as well. And I am all for working smarter, not harder. So really want to join the dots with us rather than sort of going it alone. Really, the whole point of the hub, from my point of view at least, is to build partnerships, is to join those dots together. Certainly not to duplicate anything that we have. So what I'd like you to do just for a second, what time have we got? 20 minutes. So perhaps just for the next couple of minutes is, I wonder if in the chat, if you could put any anything really that you think that we should be linking in with, whether this is projects, initiatives, teams, people, strategies, meetings, boards, anything at all. Please literally download all of your brain cells into our chat, please, and continue to do so as well. So anywhere where you think that we should be linking into. It might be your team, and that's brilliant. So please put that in the chat as well. But any other teams, I say teams, projects, initiatives, strategies, boards, anything like that that you can think of where you think that there is a careers, employability or skills element to it, whether that's to do with schools and colleges or economic development, economic growth, please do download your brains into our chat function, and we'll take that away as our starting point. But also always do come back to us if you have any other sort of thoughts on this as well. Brilliant, great to see some of these coming through onto our chat. Please do unload every brain cell you have left on at 4:10 on a Monday afternoon into the chat for us. Rachel, you just asked there if we've heard of Directions. Directions are the IAG supplier that cover quite a few of the Essex schools, if I'm right, Rachel. Yep, so you're nodding, that's great. Yeah, so we have been linking into those. Emma wasn't aware that there's a careers magazine from Essex County Council, so that would be really exciting to hear a bit more about that and see that. I wonder if it's possible for you to send us through a link or indeed the person that runs that so that we can get in touch with them.
Emma, could I get that as well, please?
I think most people on the call are going to want a bit of that, I would imagine, Emma. So yeah, we'll share that across after as well. Fantastic. I'll let you please do continue to put options in there. And as I say, do always get in touch if you feel that there's other teams. You might go away, reflect a little, and then come back with more. But as I mentioned, I am really very keen that that particularly for myself, that I go on a bit of a fact-finding mission, particularly across Essex, and particularly across I know South Essex very well, really. It's more the other regions, so that mid, north, east and south, that I'm particularly keen on. So anything there at all, please do pop that in the chat if you have any links. And I say, if there's any links into the schools in those 3 key areas as well, then that would be fantastic as well. Just so that we've got a bit of time left, I'm just going to quickly skip through these last couple, but do keep popping your ideas in the chat there for us as well. So in terms of next steps for us for a careers hub at the moment, the schools and colleges have until the 14th of October to complete their sign up for the careers hub, at which point we're hoping that we'll have 95 schools within the hub, so that's that additional 60 across Essex. We're currently in the process of recruiting an operational hub lead, and our enterprise coordinators will come out shortly as well in terms of those opportunities. Again, we'll send you over the links, so anyone that you think might be good for those roles, please do let us know. We will be very much commencing our recruitment of enterprise advisors. So they're our business volunteers that we match with the schools on a one-to-one basis shortly. And again, any links that you have in to any business representative organisations or economic development teams across the county, that would be fabulous as well. We're obviously going to be providing that ongoing support for the schools and colleges, particularly for their career strategies and achieving those benchmarks. As mentioned, I'm going to go on a bit of a fact-finding mission of Essex to try and make sure that we're aware of much as possible of the careers landscape, so that we're not duplicating anything, but rather supporting and communicating about the different provision that's out there. And particularly for this term, we're very much going to be supporting our schools, colleges and training providers to make sure that they're ready for the provider access legislation, which starts from January 23. What that legislation does in really simple terms is make sure that schools are giving access to independent training providers and other providers of vocational and technical qualifications to young people from year 7. So that they're aware of it, rather than in some schools it can be a little bit of an afterthought in an assembly perhaps in year 11. So it's putting it front and centre of their progression. So that's our next term really in terms of what we're doing. So just to reiterate a couple of asks for you guys as well, I suppose, if you're linking into any schools, please encourage them to join the Careers Hub. Any employers that you link with, encourage them to join to become an enterprise advisor. And so information on all of this will go out after this meeting. If you are, or if you have links to any careers or skills providers or projects or teams, strategies, initiatives, as I mentioned, then please do let us know or encourage them to contact the Careers Hub. Please like, follow, share, and any other thing that you can do on social media, please. And I'll put up in the screen our platforms in just a second. And as I mentioned, I'll send you out the details about the job opportunities that we've got as well. So if you can share those across your networks as well, we'd be really grateful. But what I would say is get in touch, basically. So if you're unsure, if you got questions, if you got ideas, then please always do get in touch with us. We're really keen to work with as many people as we possibly can. As you can see, these are our social media platforms, and I'll make sure that they're sent across to you after. It's not just information for the likes of you guys that are on this call as well, but also there's information that's shared that's relevant for young people, for parents, for employers, and for other careers professionals on there as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I have spoken for a long time now. So what I want to do at this point, and thank you Laura for putting in all those social media platforms on there, and thank you to everyone. I'm scrolling up now to see loads of information about the different teams and different projects that we should be linking in with. So that's a really fantastic start for us. But what I'd like to do now is really just open it up to you guys. If you have any questions, thoughts, comment, anything that wasn't clear, which may well be the case. I'm living and breathing this at the moment, so you tend to think it's clear to someone, but perhaps won't be. So any questions or even comments or thoughts, please do either pop it in the chat or raise your hand, and we can attempt to answer it at least. Rachel.
Oh, yes, sorry, you might have mentioned it, Hyla. I just wasn't clear how. I've got a few schools in Clacton. I'd really like to put this to. What's the process?
So what I'll do straight after this meeting, I'll send everyone around sort of the information that we've sent to the schools. And so then if you want to share that with the schools, then that would be fantastic. And again, it will have our contact details on there. So you can then share that with the schools to encourage them to join. I mean, any school really, we're keen to join, but because we've only got 11 places left now, we really kind of want to focus that in on the Tendering, Harlow, and Basildon areas really. So yeah, any support you can give us in Tendering and Clacton areas, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks,
right, thank
Rachel.
you.
Yeah, I'll send the details across to everyone after, so you've got it. Have I stunned everyone into silence? Any other questions or thoughts? Anything that wasn't clear? Oh, I think I have stunned you all into silence. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Laura, anything that I've missed? I don't think that there was, but anything that I've missed that you can think of?
No, do you want to go over any of the communities of practices or anything?
Yeah, certainly can do. So thank you, Laura. So one of the areas that we are going to focus on, and it would be particularly great to hear from anyone that works within the SEND or inclusion area. We're going to be setting up a inclusion community of practice, essentially a little mini hub, basically, for any special schools across the network. So at the moment we have, I think it's about 7 or 8 that's joining, but we're keen to have any others that want to join us as well. And what that will mean is they'll have the support of the hub, obviously, and everything that brings, but there'll also be a special focus for them as well to bring those careers leaders particularly together and employers together with them as well, probably most importantly for what we've heard from the schools. So again, any special schools that you work with, please do encourage them to join the hub. This isn't just for mainstream. This is very much for any school across the area. Patricia, thank you for your question. So in what capacity can you work with schools that are not signed up this year? So as mentioned, that the schools that don't join the hub this academic year will be given the opportunity to join next academic year from September. But for this academic year, they won't have, in effect, the people power. So they won't have an enterprise coordinator or an enterprise advisor But what they will have is they'll have access to our, if they choose to have access, if they want to, of course, they'll have access to our newsletters. They'll have access to some of the resources, sort of the ones that aren't specific to schools as well. And they'll have access to any free webinars that we're running as well. So they will still have some support from us, but certainly not the full range of support, unfortunately. But they will be given the opportunity to join next September if they want to at that stage. Hopefully that answers that question, but anything else on that, then let me know. You're welcome. Any other questions from people? No? Okay. Well, as I said, we'll send out some information straight after this event. And with some details of the asks really, but also very much details of how you can get in contact with us. Please do keep sharing any ideas that you have in terms of different organisations or people that we should be speaking to, and we want to make sure that we're aligning ourselves to all of that great work that's already out there, certainly not duplicating any of it. So yeah, any others that any other areas that you can think of that we need to be aware of, please do let me know. Suzanne, so for colleges that join, how can we ensure that the offer is across their provision and not just their mainstream provision? Could they join the Inclusion Hub? Yeah, so for example, South Essex College is already part of the Careers Hub, and we work really closely, particularly with their supported internship team. So with the colleges, we don't tend to treat them as just one entity. We tend to treat them either by campus or by subject area or by type of provision, because they're usually just so big. So just treating them as one entity doesn't tend to work. So we do, where possible, and we'll work with the careers leader and the senior leadership team to work out with the college first what is the best split up of that, to make sure that we're working with them as much as possible. Okay, any other questions? Any more for any more? If you have, put your hands up. If not, I'll give you back, 7 minutes? That's not like me to give people back time. No, fantastic. Well, as I say, any questions that you do have, or if anything comes to you after, or if you just want to call and chat, or if you want me to come to your workplace or meet you for a coffee anywhere, just for a chat over what this looks like and how we can be working with your teams, please do get in touch and let us know. We will be sharing these details and indeed the PowerPoint that was used and links to that with you straight after this meeting. And again, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Really appreciate that you taking the time out for us this afternoon, and look forward to working with you all in this exciting growth of the Careers Hub. Lovely, thank you.
Thanks very much.